Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are waiting for more people to join, then we can start. Buddy. So, just to uh, get the icebreaker, I wanted to tell you the story of how we came up with the idea of doing this sprint. It's been a long time with Gayan and Sankar and Kapil and all the other contributors that we've been discussing the possibility of organizing something to do together. Uh, However, it was always a bit of a problem because of lack of time. Then the pandemic kicked in, and it also prevented us from meeting, which is something that I would have liked to do. Uh, and so now finally we found the time and the right opportunity to do something together, which also has meaning, I believe, because the goal of this meeting is to get together and, first of all, introduce the newcomers to the community, to show you the process that we follow to get pull requests merged, because we don't just merge pull requests like that, right? You should already figure that out. It's very important for a project that is also growing as OpenWISP in users, number of users, use cases, organizations using it, contributors. It's very important to maintain some sort of stability and consistency in the code base because it can get out of control very quickly. And when it gets out of control, it's not fun to work on anymore, and people don't want to work on it. They don't want to touch it basically. And this comes from experience, no, right? I'm not making this up because I had the experience of working on code that nobody wanted to touch, and it's not pleasurable. So, moreover, there's also the problem of stability of users, organizations, companies, etc., which are already using the software. So we really have to make sure that whenever we introduce any change, we don't break their systems. Okay, or if we really have to make some breaking changes, we have to communicate it very clearly. So that's our role of maintainers, and especially my role, to oversee this process and to make sure that what gets merged is not destructive. And this process is like a filtering process, a review process, a testing process, uh, which we improve over time and we strive to improve more. And it can be a little bit daunting in the beginning for a new contributor which does not have any experience and maybe has also a bit of lack of time. But here we are explaining why this process is very good for the project and why, if you uh, get used to this, it's going to be great for you as well as a developer or an engineer. That's it for the story. I think now we waited enough for people to join. I'm sure that more people will join later on. So I think we can proceed again. What do you think? Right. So uh, shall we go ahead with the demo, right, of the system? Well, first of all, let me introduce you a bit what OpenWISP is. And OpenWISP is a system, web application composed of a web application, APIs, and packages that run on routers or hardware, basically networking hardware, mainly running OpenWRT. And this system aims at controlling these devices. So provision their configuration and allow a small number of people, small amount of people to control many devices. It could be hundreds, it could be thousands, and allow people with little knowledge to get the instructions on how to set up a device. So these people can go around cities, universities, buildings, whatever, to install these devices. They just have to follow simple instructions and connect the device, and the device automatically gets provisioned by OpenWISP. And the configuration that can be provisioned is really flexible, right? The system can configure many different types. It's very flexible. It's designed to be so that you can deploy pretty much anything that is supported by OpenWRT. The goal for me personally is to get to the point in which we can control also other systems, not only OpenWRT, but we're still focusing on OpenWRT because it's the most used open source networking operating system. It's very flexible, it's very powerful, it has a great community, a lot of packages and so on. So for now, we are focusing on that only, and we are focusing on building all the features of the network management system. So I'm going to give you a quick overview right now. Apps that I have over here. App be distracted. One thing, is the YouTube stream working fine? Okay. 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 Please double check and let me know. So I'm going to start now. Sharing the screen. Okay. Let me start from the first page. Can you see? Can you confirm if you can see the screen? Can anybody confirm? Okay, so this is the new version of OpenWISP, which is not released yet, although we included the instructions in the Ansible role that explain how to deploy this new unreleased version. The goal of this sprint is to accelerate the process of releasing this new version, which is great. I mean, it's a lot better than the last release. We've done a lot of improvements. Not only the look, which is of course a lot better, more usable because we have this new menu, which is pretty. It improves usability a lot. Also, it's kind of nice things. We worked a lot on it to make sure it works on different screen sizes. You can minimize it if you want. You have this submenu here, and of course this is also configurable, so anybody can who needs to write third-party apps to customize the system, they can register their own menu items and so on. Well, let's move on. So here you can see an overview of the network, of the map of the devices in the network here in the system. This is my development environment. I have 5 devices registered. It says that 2 are online, and so it shows statistics of the configuration status and the device models, firmware version, system type, right? So what kind of OpenWRT version I have installed on each device and what type of devices are. You see, restarts, core. Okay, so now I show you the list of devices. And here we are. Okay, so this one is online, but it's fake because I set an IP address which is localhost. So the monitoring system is trying to ping it, and of course it says online, so it's kind of fake. Okay, it's fake. This is the development environment. So here I have the server, the development server, the Django development server. is the OpenWISP monitoring repository. Here I have, I'm stopping to show it to you, the salary worker. Okay, salary worker is a process that executes any background task. Okay, so the web server, or alternatively here we have salary bit. Salary bit is the process which reads a schedule and sends the periodic tasks. So it's like a cron job, but managed at application level with Python, not at system, not at operating system level. And this process sends periodically tasks to execute to the background worker. Also, the server, sometimes there are some tasks which are passed to the background because maybe there are long running tasks and we don't want the user to wait a few minutes to get a response. So depending on the needs of the application, the background worker is quite busy in these last versions because it has to do quite a few things depending on the modules that are enabled. Because the monitoring does a lot of network checks, also the firmware upgrader, all the firmware upgrade tasks are executed in the background. So here we have the device list, we have the filters, which allow to filter out, right, if you want to see only a specific type of devices, like only those ones which are online, do this. You can also look, right? So all of these options allow you to filter the devices. So now I'm going to give you a demonstration of what it means to control a device. In this module that I'm running, I only have the controller and monitoring module. So there's no firmware upgrader and other things. But this is enough to show you right now. So here I have the device that I have near me. It's a hardware, but you don't have to use, if you don't have any router, especially for the newcomers, if you don't have any routers, don't be discouraged. It's not a problem. You can run OpenWRT on a virtual machine, and you can connect the virtual machine to OpenWISP to get started playing with OpenWISP. This is something I really recommend you and suggest you to do if you want to work on OpenWISP, if you want to edit the code of OpenWISP. You should understand how we use it, right? Because the goal, this is something I want to make clear. The goal is to allow people to manage networks. So if you want to improve OpenWISP, you have to understand how people are using it, okay? So if you're a programmer and you want to be a great programmer, you need to understand the use case, the domain you're working on, right? The people that you work for or you will work with have needs. Your job is to understand their needs and translate that understanding into running code that works, right? That solves a specific problem and allows people to do their job better, more easily. So that's our goal. Iteration after iteration, we are improving the system. It's been improving a lot, I believe, and we will keep improving it and make it easier to use, install, etc., which now are areas in which we need to improve. So this is the overview of the device. You see it has the management IP. I set it to use the LAN interface, so the system knows that it has to reach it at this address, which is in my LAN. See, this is the information of the device. This is a custom OpenWRT identifier that this firmware has, but it's still OpenWRT based. So here we have some information about the status of the device, so the load average, how much has been up, the local time of the device, and RAM status, storage. Here we have the network interface information. Right? We have, for example, here we have the bridge of the LAN, which has only one member in the bridge. These are the addresses. It also shows the IPv6 addresses and all the other
Live streaming
interfaces,
is on.
and also some neighbors, right? Other the neighbor, the arc table. If you don't know what an arc table is, please look it up. You should know. So here the charts, of course, it's kind of empty because this was night. I didn't keep the development environment running during the night. So now it's collecting data. You see here it's showing as reachable, right? When it's not reachable, it's showing out red. When it's empty, it means the monitoring worker is not working, is not doing its job. So there's no data being collected. There's an overview. Every chart has an overview, and there's some legends which helps hopefully to explain what is it about, right? There's also a help text for each chart, packet loss. So here, for example, in this moment there was a 10% packet loss. Now it's zero. Right? If it's NA not applicable, it means there's no data, but otherwise it's zero. You can over here. Round trip time. So how many milliseconds it takes for the device to reply. Here it's really low because it's really here. Right? Wi-Fi clients, there's no Wi-Fi client because there's no Wi-Fi interface right now. Memory usage is pretty low, CPU usage is pretty low. It's not doing anything. Disk usage. Okay. Then we have configuration. I will show you to you in a bit. The map, for example, I can show to play. I can place it on a new location or an existing one. I can choose from an existing location. Right, this is place in Italy. I can save. I could even alternatively select, say that it's an indoor location, and I could supply a floor plan. I would select. Let's see. Let's pretend that this is a floor plan of a house or building. I can place. I can say, okay, this device it's in this room. And this is the third floor. Okay. That's it. Okay, now there's another. Where am I? Never mind. Let's move on. So I want to show you the. Let's see if I have. I want to show you how editing the configuration works. There's also some other settings for the credentials here. For example, there's an SSH key configured so the system can SSH if needed into the device. There's here we could disable some checks of the monitoring system or set, for example, let's say that, for example, with this setting, we would be alerted as soon as the system cannot ping the device anymore. So if we don't want that, if we want to say the system, okay, ping, alert me only if the system cannot reach the device for 30 minutes, we would do this. We would set it to 30 or whatever you want in minutes, right? So you don't get alerts all the time because that's a common problem in real systems. A lot of alerts. Let's say the configuration, fun part. So let's start just changing the host name, for example. So I'm going to log into the device, which is using the IPv6 link local here. Show you log with -f on November T. You can read the syslog in real time. Okay. It's like I haven't changed it. Maybe before which I saved something happened. Okay, now I'm saving. You see that now it got a child connection and it's reloading the configuration. Okay, and the host name has changed. Okay. If you do it again, Hi. It connects, it runs the agent, stop and start, reloading depending on the version of the agent. I think this version is not super up to date. Okay, so you see that now the hotname has changed. Another demonstration we can do is configure the Wi-Fi. So I have a template ready here. This is normally we don't use a lot of configurations here in the specific device unless there's an override. Usually all the configuration is stored in templates. We can see the preview here of what would be written on the device. So this is the configuration format of OpenWRT. Right? Templates can be prepared from here, from templates. And nothing, I'll show you how applying this template basically brings up two Wi-Fi interfaces. What's the good thing about this is that you can have 100,000 of devices having the same template. And the template can contain variables as well, which may be tweaked if needed. So you may set up a slightly different SSID or password, but the bulk of the configuration is always the same. So it means that the day in which you need to uh, update the configuration for whatever reason, you will have one place to go and change it from this template here. Right? You could go to template and change it here, whatever we need to change. Right? For example, we could change the power or some setting here, channel, whatever, and we can do it on all the devices. Use like the device decided to reboot itself. Uh, let's show you. Sorry, this is a development device, so I'm not sure if I have screwed everything, something, anything. It looks like it came back. I think it just reloaded the network. It didn't reboot itself. So it rebooted the network. Now you can see there's two Wi-Fi interfaces. 5 gigahertz one, 2 gigahertz one. And if I, this is a template, let's go back to the device. Problem, nice, you see? Now it says there's a problem. Let's see what the problem is. CPU usage, okay. Suddenly it sparked the CPU. Okay, doesn't seem like a big deal. And here we can see, okay, 90, it detected the CPU usage for a very short time of more than 90%. So it doesn't look like. It did not alert us, you see, we did not receive a notification because by default, I believe there's a 5 minutes tolerance. Right? So it says there's a problem, but then it goes away. It should go away. So if I remove this template, you will see that here. Now that it's being reloading, it says that it's going to bring down the Wi-Fi, and now there's no interface. That's it. I wanted to show you more or less basic features, right? This is very basic, how we use it, how different organizations. I have some hours of the day available for viewing pull requests. Now, during this sprint, today, tomorrow, then Monday, Tuesday, etc., we will meet at the same time of today, have this Jitsi room open so that we can do this process that we usually do, but we have scheduled the time for it, we will do it, we will be here, either all of us or some of us, and we'll do this process together. We can also, right, so most of the time is asynchronous. Now we're doing it live, and We are going to do it in the following days as well. And how to say, similarly to what we do now, right? This is what I do. Well, this is one of the things, right? Of course, always share your work in the chat. It helps. I also look a lot at this page of the website. We have a page where we can see basically the GitHub feed. This allows me to see more or less what has been done in the last 24 hours really quickly, right? I have a favorite page as well where I see all the open pull requests. So of course, there's a lot. You see, there's 123 open pull requests. No matter how many pull requests we manage every day, periodically, lately, we will always be around this number. So please keep in mind that getting a pull request merged can take some time because of this thing that I said before, that we tend, and I especially tend to not merge things too lightly, especially if the change is important. If the change is a small change, like this one that Kagan just did, it's surely easier. However, the goal of this sprint is, after this demonstration, to go and address also the harder issues, the ones that we've been delaying and delaying. Okay, so here's how it works. I decide to look at something, and of course I read. First of all, I check again the issue, right? Say, okay, okay, it was this issue that I know what's going on. So for this one, I know. Sometimes I have to check again, and then I go back to the pull request. First thing I do, of course, check the build, check that everything is going on. If it's not running, I approve it and run it. So now it looks like it's getting fixed. So here's the change. It's pretty small, right? It's just adding a serializer class. So in this case, what I do, uh, well, usually if this was a more serious change, I would ask Gagan, I would say, please add a test, okay? And a test would have to fail. So when I ask you to add a test, it means that the test has to fail without this change, okay? So failing test without fix, then the fix makes the test pass. And that's also something that most of the times I do test. So if you're going to send out a test, make sure that it fails without your fix, because I am going to do that. I am going to test it. And if I find that your test doesn't fail without the change, it means that your test is not effective. And I will reject your patch and ask you to fix that. That's why it's good that you do it. It's good that you do exactly the same steps that I'm going to do, because that speeds up the process, right? Because in a more complex pull request, I will be asking for changes, right? In a more complex pull request, what I do is, maybe I don't have time to do the whole process today. So what I do, I just limit myself to read the code. I read the code and I suggest changes. I just suggest improvement, point out if there's any missing test, and so on. Then either the same day, if I have time, or another day, what I will do is I go here, right, and I check out the code. Go into the repository, make sure I have the latest changes downloaded. I take the changes of the pull request.
Live streaming has stopped.
Okay, I heard something saying live streaming has stopped. Yeah, just letting you know. Okay, here's what I do. I test the run. like I have it already running here, sorry. I have OpenWISP controller running. It's complaining I have an applied migration. Run it. Okay. And server again. And we know that the error was, but the other problem is not showing up. Right? So what happens if we go back to master? We should server will reload and
Live streaming is on.
I don't see the error also master. Why is that? Okay. It's interesting. I don't see the error. Why is that? Okay, here is when I would usually say, hey, wait a minute, what's going on? It's either my environment that it's, we have to upgrade my version of Django. I can run Django 2.2, for example. I have a slightly older version. Ignore these ones, you can pretty much ignore. That's what happens when you work only with one virtual env like I do for the modules. Okay, well, it's okay. I don't get the error. Am I replicating the wrong way? So we are in OpenWISP icon and loading this endpoint, and it has to do with the version of Java. No, it's already up to date. That's interesting. So I think we have to. In this case, I do not, because it's not really clear to me. Because I know this issue is not new. I've seen it around, but this, well, it's such a small change, which even if I merge it, it's not gonna be a big deal, right? Normally, I don't merge changes which do not fix an issue that let me close. I think I have this thing here which is making it best. Okay. So in this case, so I've seen this error in your environment. So just to be sure, usually what I do is I spend a little bit more time understanding why. Oh, you see this my device which is trying to send a chat story request on this iPhone. For some reason I don't get this error. Or maybe it could be with the version of this one. And I am on master. Okay, in this case, what I do, I would say, I cannot replicate the initial issue in my end. Therefore, I will check this again before merging and just leave a comment. All right, it's not approval nor a request for change because it's. I'm just saying, hey, there's something going on. I'm not 100% sure. And of course, now if you look at this line, it's pretty ridiculous, right? But let's keep in mind that most pull requests are not one line, are different lines. So I am not eager to merge certain number of lines of code of changes, which supposedly fix an issue that I cannot replicate anymore. So I must be sure that every change which is merged is needed, okay? So please keep this in mind. Oh, the goal is to improve OpenWISP, not just to change code for the sake of changing code and scoring pull request merged. Please keep that in mind, because sometimes new contributors, they may be eager to get the pull request merged, because of course that's nice to have the GitHub profile, right? If you go in the GitHub profile of Kagan, you see that's been working a lot, right? There's a lot of contribution. You can see all his work here, etc. However, that's not the goal, right? That's a consequence of doing useful work. So please focus on making useful work. So later on, Gagan, we will double check this thing of understanding why I am not getting this error, and you guys are getting it. So once I can also replicate this error and verify the fix, then we can merge this. And I think now we can move on. And later on, everybody, later on, we will be doing live testing and reviews of other pull requests. So if you have an open pull request that you want to see with us, please stay, sorry, come back after the break. Let me stop sharing. Stop sharing. Okay. I think you see. Hello. Yeah, as I was saying, after the break, we will do this process, but for more complex work. So I hope that it will become clearer, and also it will be an occasion for. Yeah. No, sure, sure. I was just saying that I was making it clear that now we gave a tiny demonstration, and later on we will do more advanced, not demonstration, but really do it live. So I hope that by then it will become clear. Okay, then I leave you to introduce the next thing.
Okay, thank you, Federico. Moving on to our next segment here. So, Kapil and Sankalp will give you contribution tips. So, a brief introduction about Kapil and Sankalp. Both of them have done their Google Summer of Code in 2021. They have been contributing to OpenWISP since 2020, since the last of 2020, and they have continued their contribution till now. So, over to you, Kapil and Sankalp.
Yeah, so Kapil Bansal will go first.
Hi everyone, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, so I will share some of the tips that works for me. They may or may not work for everyone, but I have tried to generalize them as much as I can. So first thing that I observe is initially it takes a lot of time to solve any issue. As you keep going and feel more comfortable, the issue may be a piece of cake for you. So as a prospective beginner you should remain consistent. Like I have seen a lot of people just become active when GShock is announced and start contributing to multiple organizations thinking that they will be selected, but that's not how it works. Try to contribute on regular basis if you want to increase your chances. Next, you should ask a lot. First, try to Figure out the problem you may have, and if you think that you are taking more than usual, just ask it in the community. Maybe someone else had the same problem that you are facing, and you may save a lot time. Also, before asking, you should have some research. Just don't ask any question that will be available directly on Google. It will waste time of other contributors as well. Also, like creating PRs is not the only way to help. You may help other contributors review their PRs or open any issue that you may find, or helping others in public channels or on the mailing list. Remember that open source is a good way to network. Try to take maximum benefit from it. That's all from my side. Over to you, Sankalp.
Yeah, well said, Kapil. So, I want to talk about something like related to my GSOC journey, or like how I contributed in OpenWISP. So, first thing is like to understand the code completely, like to completely understand the OpenWISP code and how to get started with it. You must understand like OpenWISP completely modular. You have to go one by one, like start with the OpenWISP utils and go to the OpenWISP users, explore each module's code, and then you will understand like this is the particular code I'm working on. After that you will or like you can work on the issues directly. So related to the issues, if you face any problem in setup, as Gagan said, like we can use directly the CI file to set up these project. So I uses many times like the CI file to set up the project. This is the most important because many new contributors faces the setup issue in development mode. So try to use the CI file to set up the development thing. And related to like if you face any issue in contributing while like issue is very hard to understand and you don't know what to do in the issue particularly, so you can do something like this, like if you don't understand, you first researched about it, what is needed in the issue. If you stuck at some point, go on the like search on the Google itself, uh, search on the Google itself about the issue, like what is the error you are having facing or something related to the issue. But if you got stuck again and again, try to ask in the OpenWISP Gitter channels. So the Gitter channel, like we have separated the channel, so you can ask in the development channel also. So this way you can be collaborative also, because if someone has opinion or someone wants to tell about like the solution, the best solution for this one, so someone can help you with this thing. So try to be collaborative, not the competitive, because I've seen some participants in previous year also, who tries to make the PR fast and like get that approved, but it takes time. You have to understand like open source contributions always takes time. So yeah, so go slowly. Like if you don't understand anything, first try to understand anything. Don't skip it. Like if I don't understand this code, I will go to the another issue and like solve that one first. So try to be like consistent. If you can't contribute regularly, like daily or something, try to contribute weekly. But don't make any contribution that I want to contribute. I will make a patch for this and send up here without testing, so that is not appreciated at all. So try to be collaborative. That's all I want to say. Yeah, so
Nice. Thank you very much, Sankap and Kapil.
yeah.
So now I wanted to make something clear. We will still be available in this room here throughout the next week and tomorrow. So whoever of you is working on any patch, you can join us here. And of course, we will be. What we will do is stay here with the microphone and and camera off. And as soon as it's needed, and if we are available, because we may be doing other things, we come up here, we turn it on, and we help you with your doubts or whatever. Maybe we can review it together, depending on on how many people, how many pull requests. Of course, if we are doing a review of somebody's work, you have to wait, but no problem. So the goal is to do something together, more live and collaboratively. So keep in mind the link to join, and we'll be sharing it again